Hi, I'm Katie Reeve. I'm the principal for the K-6 program here at Cortlandville. I'm going to show you Jen Markley's classroom. She's our first through third grade teacher, and you can see some of the things that she's done to prepare her classroom for students to return this fall. Come on in. Hi, Miss Markley. I'm going to pass the microphone to you so you can show people what you've done in your classroom to get ready for students to come back.
All right, so we started by making sure all the desks are 6 feet apart and there's dividers between everybody. And then our bathroom sink is right outside the bathroom. And we've got a sign reminding our friends to use singing the ABCs so they wash their hands long enough. The paper towel dispensers are now touchless, so they can wash their hands, grab a paper towel, and throw it right in the trash can. We've got signs up around the classroom reminding our friends to be 6 feet apart and to wear masks. There's signs on the floors to show us exactly what 6 feet apart looks like, where our chairs can go when we're in centers, so they can still stay 6 feet apart there too. And then we have individual bins for each student with all of their supplies, and they're all labeled with their names and color-coded with a fun sticker. So if they drop a marker, we know whose it is. There's no sharing of any supplies, including headphones and dry erase markers. And then all our textbooks and folders are each in individual color-coded bins, so the kids can grab what they need for the lesson, and none of their supplies touch each other's. Everybody's stays completely separate, and it's really easy for the kids even at a glance to recognize that every single item that they'll need throughout the entire school day has been provided in their own bins and in their own spaces. And we have, for choice time, we've separated all the toys. They're all things that can be really easily sanitized into separate bins, labeled. They have Velcro markers that say they're ready to be played with, so that means they've been sanitized. When a student's done using the bin of toys, they'll switch it to a needs cleaning so a staff member can clean it, and when it's ready, they'll put the ready sticker back on it.
Thanks, Mrs. Markley. So I'm going to talk a little bit about masks. You can notice that Mrs. Markley and I are wearing our masks. Students can bring their own masks to school, or we have masks here that they can use, and some of them will have really fun prints on them for kids that they would like. Students, when they're in their own area, since their desks are socially distanced and 6 feet apart and also have barriers in these dividers, when they're at their seats, they can be mask-free. If students are up and moving around the classroom, this is a time when their mask would go on. So if students are transitioning from their seat to a center, they would put their mask on. Once they're at their center, if they're 6 feet apart from the other student, which they would be, and from the teacher, then they can have their mask off. You can see that I'm wearing my mask, and it goes up over my nose and it comes down over, so it covers my mouth and my nose, so that's the appropriate way to wear a mask. If students are moving throughout the building, they would also have a mask on. However, lunch and breakfast will be in the classroom. Art and music will also be in the classroom. So students will be able to remain with their cohort of kids to keep them safer. You'll notice that at the centers, there's a place on the floor to show where students should have their chairs to remain socially distanced. Chairs would not go in the middle of that table there. We have sanitation stations in each classroom. So you can see we have wipes to disinfect things, and there's hand sanitizer throughout the classroom so that when students are done at a center, things can be wiped down and students can sanitize their hands.
When you enter your classroom, you're going to want to use hand sanitizer. Make sure that you are thoroughly getting the front and the back of your hands. And then you can come right to your seat. And then markings on the floor with green tape show where your desk should be lined up at the front. And this maintains social distancing to the left and right and front and back of your peers. And every desk has a bin in front that's going to have your supplies inside. Some things that you might find are headphones, glue stick, pencils, and pens, and these are just for your personal use throughout the day. And you'll notice on the floor, there are 2 yellow smiley faces, and this is the designated seating areas. Many of you may have had these on your floors last year as an X or a box, so it's very similar to last year.
And when you're ready, you go for your materials, you go over to this area, and there's green checks and an X. You grab one, and you go back to your center. After using the materials at the center, you're expected to get back up and put them in the red X in the bin so that we know that they need to be sanitized before the next use.
Once it centers, you'll notice that there's a plexiglass barrier for the students. This is to just have protection, and it also means that they can take their mask off when they are at centers working. Once we're finished with centers, we'll put our mask back on, and we'll return their manipulatives to the bin with the green bin or the circle X's, and move back to their seats with their masks on.
You'll notice that our bathrooms look a little bit different this year. There's just one sink available, and we do have reminders to count to 20 when you wash your hands. Our paper towels are touchless now, so when you pull one out, you just wave your hand and another one will come in.
For any reason to go to the playground, you will wait to be called by your classroom teacher. And when your classroom teacher calls, there will be markings on the floor. So there are blue circles with feet in them, and this is where you will stand so that you can maintain social distancing in between your peers.
And then your next friend will be called up, and you are expected to stand on a different blue square or circle.
When all people have lined up and you're ready to enter the hallway, there will be special markings on the floor for you that you will need to follow as you walk along the hallway.
So when you're coming out in the hallway, you can see that this side of the hall has blue tape, and that's where you should walk, on that side of the hall when you're going in that direction. If you need to go in the other direction, you'll see the red tape shows you which side of the hall to walk on in that direction.
So now we're going to walk out to the playground to show you what it would look like if you were to go out there with your class and your peers.
To keep kids safe but still provide them the movement and activity that we need, each class will have their own scheduled time for playground use. Staff will disinfect things like the chains to the swings and other equipment on the playground between use to make sure that the equipment is safe for everyone.
So when you're in the hallway, you'll see some signs that will remind you to wash your hands as much as you can. And also, we'll be reminding you to stay 6 feet apart. The arrows on the floor show you 6 feet, so that will help you to remember to stay 6 feet even when you're in the hallway.
So when you're at the Cortlandville campus, you'll see that we have signs throughout our building to remind everyone of our protocols and procedures during this time. Reminders for covering coughs and sneezes, washing your hands as frequently as possible, remaining socially distanced, and always remembering to wear a mask as you're moving throughout the building.
You'll notice that we have brand new water fountains this year. So to get water, you'll put your water bottle right under. It fills up without having to touch. And then you can just take it away.
This year, for special area classes like art and music, teachers will be pushing into each individual classroom to limit students' movement around the building and exposure to different areas. For physical education, students will mostly be outside as long as the weather permits so that they can be 12 feet apart while doing physical activity. If the gym is used due to weather, then students would be 12 feet apart and doing stationary activities like yoga or have a go noodle or some other movement-based activity inside their classroom. For arrival and dismissal, students will be able to enter through different entrances. Elementary will have their own entrance, as well as middle and high school having separate entrances. A staff member for BOCES will meet each bus as it arrives and help students to get off the bus one at a time and remain socially distanced throughout their arrival and dismissal to and from school.